I'm sure we've all seen these Gen Z videos on social media where the resounding sentiment has been this new generation's dislike of the 9-to-5 working culture.
I know I'm probably just being so dramatic and annoying, but this is my first job, like my first 9-to-5 job after college, and I'm in person, and I'm commuting in the city, and it takes me fucking forever to get there. There's no way I'm gonna be able to afford living in the city right now, so that's off the table. Like, I get on the train at 7:30, and I don't get home till like 6:15 earliest, and then like I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Like, I don't have energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm so upset. Oh my God. The 9-to-5 schedule in general is crazy. Being in the office 9-to-5, like if it was remote, you get off at 5 and you're home and everything's fine. But like, I'm not home. It takes me long to get home.
I called off work because I am sick and I just went to enjoy a nice meal. And my sister's like, oh, you can just call off work. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sick. She's like, you're sick? I'm like, yeah, I am sick of working.
And here's one more, just for good measure. Now, as an older millennial, actually as someone that's on the border of Gen X, the amount of change that I've seen in the landscape of corporate working culture in the last 20 years has just been astounding. I grew up in a time where company management sternly laid out all of the terms of employment upon hire, with very little emphasis on anything that didn't drive high performance. And back then, it was an environment where doing 110% of your job was just the baseline for continued employment. And in order to get ahead, you really had to hustle and significantly outwork your peers in addition to expertly managing up and navigating the political landscape of your organization. And it was all done in person, 5 days a week for roughly 45 to 46 weeks a year, give or take a week or two, depending on how generous your company's vacation and sick time policies were. And in most cases, most of what I just described are still true, but the sentiment and the attitude of the 9-to-5 work culture really seems to have changed with this incoming tide of Gen Z workers. We're seeing a shift in this new generation where our current work culture norms are being revisited and reevaluated from the perspective of personal fulfillment and satisfaction. And while some of this can be attributed to entitlement and a little bit of narcissism, and perhaps just a bit of naive ignorance on what it takes to succeed in the workforce, to be honest, there is some merit to some of what Gen Z is saying. So today, in this session of Daniel's Brew, I'll go over the hidden truths about the paradigm shift in our work culture spurred on by Gen Z, and I'll tell you why, as a seasoned veteran in the corporate world, some of this is actually worth listening to. Welcome back to Daniel's Brew, where I talk personal finance and career development. So, back in the late 1930s, the US was coming off of the heels of the Great Depression, where just about 1 in 4 Americans were unemployed. Jobs were limited, discretionary spending was virtually non-existent, and infrastructure across the country was in a state of rebuilding. So, as you can imagine, while the quality of the available jobs wasn't that great, in that era most people were simply thankful to just have a job at all. This period of hardship gave rise to a working culture where the theme was all about simply keeping your head down, doing whatever it took to secure your 9-to-5 office job, and working hard so that you could provide for you and your family. There wasn't a lot of talk about work-life balance or mental health in that day and age. Rather, it was all about survival. And growing up in this period were the boomers, and so they all developed into adults with this inherent mindset of grinding hard and doing whatever it took to secure and maintain a job, no matter how tough the situation may be. Next came Gen X, who were raised by boomers who instilled within them this same type of work ethic and work culture. At this time, the US economy was starting to improve, but it still wasn't easy, so having this type of mental model around the working life was appropriate. Then in the early 1980s, the millennials were born, and this was the start of a growing economic time within the country. This era in our history was the start of the technology age, where you had the recent inception of companies like Microsoft, Apple's continued progress with the release of their first Macintosh personal computer, and the World Wide Web just started becoming a thing. And all throughout this era as well, we had this working mentality of giving everything you had to your career. But the difference now was that it wasn't just about surviving, but rather improving and enhancing the quality of your life. The job market was expanding, and there were more opportunities for advancement. And the work ethic that we cultivated before was now being redirected to chase prosperity and financial success. And finally, that brings us to present day with Gen Z. Now, it's important to note that for the last 20 years or so, we've been relatively comfortable compared to the conditions we've had in the boomer generation. There's been significant technological advancements during this time, and the US economy has been on the rise. And due to this, Gen Z has had a relatively comfortable life in general, and we're seeing this new generation start to wonder why, in this day and age, we still need to work long and hard hours in our 9-to-5 jobs and sacrifice as much as we did in the past in order to make a living. The old underlying work ethic and perspectives that we've had in terms of working culture seem less and less relevant to the more comfortable living environment that we're in now. And therefore it seems that the focus for this generation is geared towards more fulfillment and life satisfaction than generations past. So we went from survival mode to improved quality of life mode and now to finding personal fulfillment mode. And this makes sense because the American psychologist Abraham Maslow explained in his theory of the hierarchy of needs that the ultimate goal of humans is self-actualization and finding personal purpose and fulfillment, which can only happen after the stairsteps of these basic needs are met. When you have your physical needs covered, safety, belonging, and self-esteem met, then you begin to understand your potential and strive towards higher quality in your life experiences. So for me, while I grew up in an era that was all about hard work and sacrificing your personal life for your career, I'm starting to realize that the concept of finding fulfillment and satisfaction in your life rather than pouring your entire life into your 9-to-5 job actually makes sense. Now, if you happen to enjoy your office job and are fulfilled in doing it, then by all means, of course, continue forward. But if you're not, then if you take a step back and really think about the life cycle of a typical corporate career, it actually doesn't make sense. I mean, think about it. For those of us that have office jobs, why do we spend the most valuable 30 to 40 prime years of our lives sitting in an office, sacrificing and juggling our time with our families and our passion pursuits, only to retire when we're 60 or 70 years of age to have free time when we're old and feeble? It kind of seems backwards, doesn't it? It should be that we're enjoying our time now with our friends and family, pursuing our passion projects while we're still young and able, and ultimately work an office job when we're old. Now, this would be the ideal case, but of course we all know why this isn't the norm. We obviously need income to survive, and there is some correlation to youth and inexperience and the lower amount of money you can earn. So unless you're a trust fund baby or a family member of a celebrity, it's very likely that you need to work hard in a 9-to-5 job for many years in order to earn enough money and have enough wealth accumulated to buy yourself the time and freedom needed to escape working during those prime years of your life. But there is some good news. In this digital age, there are actually many alternatives to the traditional 40-year career of corporate life which you can explore, and here they are. First, you can look for part-time or fully remote work that may give you the flexibility you need to focus more on your personal life. Now, I know the trend lately is that more and more companies are mandating return to work, so fully remote roles are fewer and with more competition, but it's still possible to land a fully work-from-home job if you try long and hard enough. The other option is to become an entrepreneur or a content creator and build a stream of income based on digital traffic and influence. If you start your own business and have a product or service that drives a lot of demand, or if you produce engaging content that garners tens of thousands of online sessions a month, it's very easy to monetize that traffic as long as you continue to drive interest and viewership from your audience. The last method of escaping your 9-to-5 is to actually double down on your regular office job, earn as much money as you can, as quickly as you can, and manage your income and invest wisely to accelerate your financial freedom. Essentially, work immensely hard now to retire early. In a past video, I outlined how someone could do this by making around $50,000 a year and effectively managing their finances to accumulate over $1 million within a period of 30 years of working. But this was a modest calculation based on moderate salary increases throughout those years, so it can actually be done much sooner than those 30 years if you work hard and are very prudent with your money. To take a look at that video, see the link down below in the description section. So all in all, I guess the point I'm making here is that we're currently living in a relatively comfortable era where opportunities are plentiful, and so we have the luxury of searching for true purpose and fulfillment in our work. So for those of you out there, if you aren't finding that in your current 9-to-5 job, as it seems a good number of Gen Z workers aren't, you should go and explore what it takes for you to find something that will actually satisfy you. Especially if you're a relatively young person in this thought process, don't be afraid to take a risk and bet on yourself if you found something that you want to pursue that isn't your current 9-to-5 job. It may not always work out, but at least you'll know that you've given it a shot and you won't be filled with the wonder of, what if I had tried? Life is too short to be doing something you don't like for 40 to 50 years, or to be living on a stack of regrets. Alright, so I hope you found this video helpful, and if you'd like to see a previous video of mine that outlines 5 realistic side hustles that you can do even as you work a standard 9-to-5 job, then simply find the link below down in the description section. And with that, thanks for joining me today on Daniel's Brew, and good luck out there.